Hi, pal, and welcome to season 2 of I've Got Your Back, the podcast. I am so excited that this season is going to be about entrepreneurship. So, if you are an entrepreneur or an aspiring entrepreneur and you're curious about how to be one, what it means, how do you embody the mindset, or how do you create ways to become an entrepreneur, and any lessons there are in being an entrepreneur, then this season is for you. Speak to you soon. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 6 of season 2 entrepreneurship on I've Got Your Back, the podcast. I am Michelle Sutherland, your pal, and I wanted to cover off a couple of things, 3 things on this episode. And these 3 subjects have been coming up a lot in conversations with some of you. And I just wanted to bring them up and talk more about them. And just sort of talk about 3 of these key things. So the first thing I want to talk about is portfolio career and having a portfolio career. And the second thing I want to talk about is changing up your environment as an entrepreneur to create some inspiration and new opportunities. And lastly, I want to talk about the entrepreneur's curse, because this is something that I'm very aware of, and I'm very, very well aware of other people struggling with this as well. So the first thing I wanted to share with you is about the term portfolio career. So the first time I actually heard about this was only about I would probably say 6 years ago now. And essentially what it means is you have, as an individual, you get to monetize the skills that you have across different jobs or businesses or opportunities. So having a portfolio career with your skill means you've got these skills that you can create multiple streams of income, and essentially you can become an entrepreneur. You're not just one person that does one job and gets one stream of income. And so this sort of concept has been around. I know some of you know about this, some of you may not know about it, but it's so good, I think, for you to know whether you're an entrepreneur now or you're an aspiring entrepreneur. I know there's people at different stages, but really understanding that you have many, many skills as an individual, and it's okay to start to create other income streams, or I like to call them impact streams, where you use those skills to do different things. So I would encourage you all, whatever stage you're at, to learn more about portfolio careers and actually develop a portfolio career yourself. So you might be, so say for example, you might be a graphic designer, but you might also have written a book about the industry and how to know about the industry, how to be a freelancer or whatever it is. So then you become an author. So when you write a book about your role within an industry, then you're an author. And then you might actually go and speak at events, or you might speak to different people, and then you can get paid as a speaker for your expertise in that industry. So you see where I'm going here. That's a very simplistic view, but look at the skills that you actually have now and think about how can you use those skills to start to create other income streams and have this portfolio career. So it just means, and I've mentioned this in a podcast before, but it just means that you aren't relying on that one income, because if that was to go, what would happen? How long could you survive if that one income was to go? And it's a really good question, because you start to really look at, gosh, I really need to look at different things, because if something were to happen to me, and that's another good question as well. If you were to be sick, or if something was to happen to you, could you still be earning money, or do you actually need to show up to your job to earn money? And of course, there's sick leave and different things like that in different situations, but obviously that runs out, or there's certain restrictions around that. So, you know, if you think about if you were a graphic designer, but you had a book, you know, you write that book once and that could be out there selling copies, no matter whatever else you're doing, that sort of started to create this other passive income. Or you may be a speaker and you can charge, you know, a higher rate for that 1 hour you speak, but that amount of money could actually last you another month, you know, because you have these unique skills and experience in this area that you're passionate about, that people want to learn and know more about. So it's thinking about that and just thinking about, really sit down and look at the skills you have and what else you could do to create a portfolio career. Okay, so the second thing I want to talk about is changing up your environment. So the reason this is really important right now is I am actually not in Scotland right now. I'm basically away for, it's around about 2 weeks. I've been away, and I've spent a week in London and I'm spending a week in Devon, which is just outside of London. And, you know, there was sort of different, you know, it was unusual circumstances that this trip came about. As I shared before in my other podcast, my friend Chris suddenly passed. So I was actually coming to London to celebrate his life. And I thought to myself, well, I'm going to come to London. I know a few people in London. There's a couple of people there at the same time. I've actually got a couple of clients in London, and why wouldn't I extend the trip just to work from there? Because I've created multiple businesses where I can work from anywhere. So I was like, okay, I'll go all in. I'll stay in London for a few extra days. I'll catch up with a few people. I'll do a bit of work. And then Devon came about because I'm always, you know, I believe in this, but I'm always a fan of growing and learning. So I basically came to study a short course at Schumacher College. So I've created this trip, and I'm just going to talk about the first half of the trip because it was just remarkable what happened. But this happens to me all the time when I change up my environment, especially as an entrepreneur that predominantly works on my own. I definitely work with people, but I can easily work from home and not see anyone all day because I can be on Zoom, I can be on YouTube, like I can be on things, connecting with people, but not necessarily meeting face to face. And so, you know, my routine, I think there's this balance as an entrepreneur of having your daily consistent habits. So, you know, for me, it's about well-being, getting up, going to the gym, working out, having a good breakfast, then working for a few hours, having a break, going a walk in nature. So there's a bit of a sequence and sort of daily habits that I've created, especially when moving back to Scotland in the last 6 months. I've sort of created these rituals and habits, which are really good because the consistency creates, you sort of follow the process in your business and you focus on the process and you focus on these daily habits, and then, you know, day by day your business starts to grow. So there's that sort of side of it, but equally sometimes that can get a bit, not boring, but it can get a bit samey, and you don't leave room for what I call serendipitous moments, for moments that you can't plan for, you don't know are going to happen, and they're moments that actually have to happen for you to grow your business. So the whole point of me being in London and for these few extra days, or for, you know, a week, was to change up my environment, because every single time that I do this, incredible things happen. So what happened just in the last week was I was with a friend and she was dog sitting and I was staying with her, keeping her company, and she said to me, oh, I need to go to this co-working space around the corner to go and drop off the dog. So I said, okay, I'll come with you for a walk. So I don't even think I brushed my teeth. I just shoved some clothes on, shoved on a cap and walked out the door with her. And we ended up in the co-working space and she introduced me to a number of people. The first person I met instantly said to me, well, what is it you do? And I shared what I did, and she said, I run my own company, and we actually, she said, I love B Corp certification. I really want our company to become it, and we're a very purpose-driven business. I would love to get your details so that at the time we're ready to do this, I'd love for you to help us. Instant. There's a new client. I literally wasn't expecting to be in this place, but when the opportunity came and someone said, what do you do? I obviously shared, and there's a new client straight away. Then it gets even better. Then another person said, to my friend and I, there's a networking event going on downstairs in this co-working space. Do you want to go down? And we were like, yeah, sure. And so we went down there, and in that room was another 20 entrepreneurs and 20 other different businesses that were getting pitched for each other. So one, to help one another. So it was basically like you share what your business is and then how you can help, and then you ask for help from the room. So we literally walked in and everyone was going around and doing their introductions and stuff like that. I ended up doing my introduction and sharing my business, and then what came from that has actually been extraordinary. So from that one interaction, I've had one person book me in for a coffee afterwards and want to be a part of my Arbonne business, or extremely interested in the Arbonne business. I've had someone else want to book in a meeting to find out more about the work that I do with B Corp, so that's planned. I've also then had a conversation with one person that said, what is it you really need? And sometimes you've actually got to be brave enough to put out there and ask what you want and have that courage and just put it out there and see what happens. So when this person asked me, what do I really need for Definity? I said, I feel as if the B Corp consultancy is growing really well and steadily, and we're getting a good flow of referrals, which is great. But I feel as if for the education side, so that part of the business that I have in Definity, we basically want to educate young people about social entrepreneurship. And we have this sort of curriculum and online program that's ready, but we need an investment, let's say about 50 or 60K to actually build it and create it online so that it's interactive and young people are going to sort of engage well with it, and we create this community online. And she said, well, what do you need? And I said, what would be really great is that if I had like someone that could invest like 50, 60K to pay for this online program, and we can get it up and running and get it out to young people all over Australia and potentially all over the world. And she said, I know the investor for you. His name is blah. He only invests, or he's really interested in investing in women, and he's really interested in investing women in impact, or having a social or environmental impact. And I'm like, I'm your woman. Like, this is me. So basically I got a direct introduction to him, and now I've got a meeting next week. Never met this person before in my life. Very warm introduction. Straight away, he was very keen to have a conversation. And, I don't know what's going to happen in that conversation, but the most important thing is I changed up my environment. I wasn't, I created room. I wasn't in my regular routine. I wasn't even I've not even been to the gym. I literally just woke up, shoved on some clothes, and ended up in a space where there was other entrepreneurs, other connectors, and other people that wanted to help one another. So the reason I'm sharing this with you is when you change up your environment, you don't rigidly follow your routine every single day. You create moments and opportunities that you wouldn't necessarily get. Okay, so if you think about me normally getting up, going to the gym, going to the same class, saying hi to the same people, going to the same cafe, chatting to the same people, doing the same thing, going home, or just literally working from home, you're not actually changing up your environment to create those opportunities. So I just sharing that from this week, it is just, and I actually felt in the room I had all this energy. Like I was literally like, oh, like I was feeding off the energy of other entrepreneurs. And I'm not always in that situation when I'm surrounded by other entrepreneurs. And I would encourage that as well. Change up your environment, or go and be in a co-working space, or go and find these places where there's other entrepreneurs that are in the same boat as you, but they all want to help one another. Because if you all sort of have conversations, you can collaborate, you can connect with someone else, like, and I would encourage you to have that as an entrepreneur, because not everyone necessarily thinks that way, but I do believe it's really powerful when you have that mindset of being a connector, of being a collaborator, of if you're meeting someone and they share your business, you could be like, oh yeah, like I think this person would be really interested in that. I think it's really important to have that, because what happens is when you have that mindset and you have that way about you, you get it back, right? So I'm a big believer in that. And being in that environment and being really energized again, like made me realize I'm going to actually do this more, where I take myself away from the daily environment that I'm in to create serendipitous moments like this. So number 2, in terms of being an entrepreneur, is change up your environment to create those serendipitous moments. And lastly, what I want to talk about is the entrepreneur's curse. So this is again a conversation that's been coming up a lot with many of you. And this is something I discovered like a few years ago, and even that term, entrepreneur's curse. So what essentially it means is sometimes as an entrepreneur, you can identify problems everywhere. You like see problems all the time and you're instantly thinking of solutions and instantly thinking of like, okay, I'm going to build a business to fix that solution. But what can happen is you have way too much and you say yes to too many things. And even as if you think about, you know, your portfolio of careers, sometimes if you say yes to all those things all at the same time, it actually doesn't work and you never do anything well, because you're trying to cut yourself too thin across many, many different projects or many, many different impact streams or income streams or any opportunities, right? So I would encourage you to really be mindful of the things that you say yes to, and just don't follow the shiny penny all the time and completely forget what you're building in the first place. So for me, even if I think about, you know, I've shared with you my story of how I had a full-time job, then I was building Arbonne on the side to that, then, you know, I left my full-time job because then Arbonne created that steady income for me, that sustainable income. But then, you know, a couple of years ago, I was like, okay, so I need some more income streams. And then I started Definity, and then, you know, I've even done some speaking, meditation and teacher training. So I offer yoga nidra, so that's another income stream, but it's not like a big time commitment, or not for now at least, because I know that I don't want to focus on building a yoga nidra skill, right? I'm sure I might do that in the future, but my focus is very much Arbonne and Definity. And most of the things that I say yes to align into those two businesses, okay? And so you just want to make sure that everything you're saying yes to, one, you've got to just ask yourself, like, what is the time commitment of this? Two, does it align with other businesses? And three, how much effort is this going to take to get it up and running? And is that what I want to be doing right now? And so I would look at your different sort of area of businesses that you have, or your portfolio career, like different things you want to build, and maybe just focus on the one. So if you've got the one thing, it's actually so powerful to put a lot of energy into that, especially if it's startup phase or those first few years. And once you get it to growth phase and you've got like systems and structures and maybe other people supporting you, then that's really, really great, because it's a sort of in a different phase. It's in growth phase. So I look at Arbonne like that, like it's a 14-year business that I've been building. Yeah, there's some things that I've tweaked here and there, but essentially things are still the same. And I've created sort of mechanisms that allow that to keep on going steadily and sustainably. So that's why when I brought in Definity 3 years ago, I sort of put more effort into that, because it was the initial stages, those first 3 years, right? So I was putting more and more time into that because I wanted to get it to a certain place. And so when I think about Arbonne, it's very much in growth phase. Definity is still very much in startup phase. So you want to put a bit more effort in that. And I'm sure in the next, you know, I can even see it now in the next year or 2 years, relying less on me, so that then I can free up my time to focus on the next thing. Okay, so entrepreneur's curse is when you say yes to too many things, you cut yourself completely short and thin, and then you don't do anything well. And that is a real thing for so many of you. And I want to encourage you to really say no to things, or like write it down and park it for 5 years from now, or whatever it is. Or if you feel as if you need to do it right now and you need to drop another thing, that's fine, but you can't just keep dropping businesses because you've got a new thing, and that tends to happen to a lot of entrepreneurs. So yeah, so those are the sort of 3 things I want to speak to in this episode. So portfolio career, anyone can do that, and you're all capable of doing that at any stage. Even if you don't see yourself as an entrepreneur, you can do that. Change your environment up as an entrepreneur, because you will create the moments of serendipitous opportunities. And just be mindful about the entrepreneur's curse. Don't say yes to too many things. That's all I've got for you. So that's episode 6. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I so appreciate your time. And as a thank you, and especially for this season, which is all about entrepreneurship, it's so important to look after yourself from a mind, a body, and a spirit point of view. So as a gift, you can download my Yoga Nidra practice from my website. And this is a guided meditation to really regenerate your mind, your body, and your soul. I hope you enjoy, and I'll speak to you soon.